see how we go.
Yeah, it's glitchy. Wi-Fi in quarantine's not been great.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, joining me today, this is a big get for me. I'm very excited to be talking to Mr. Rob Kral in our quarantine conversation series here on the RHCC High School YouTube channel and podcast. Rob, how have you been doing in COVID-19?
Well, COVID-19 sounds like a year. Like, how you doing? We don't say how you're doing in 2020. How you doing in COVID-19?
It's all we're going to remember from this year.
Yeah, big time. This is amazing. It's just so crazy, so different. One of the things is like, it seems to always, at the moment anyway, be a little more elevated or a little more serious than any of us.
Yeah.
Well, maybe just speak for myself, than I think it is. Like, you hear about it, like earlier in the year, we maybe heard about this, and, then we know it's coming in for us. And then we know, well, we should be careful. We should be wash our hands extra and all this kind of stuff. And then, but it always seems to be a step ahead of us. And that's even hitting me today. It's just like, you think about like with Impact and how we thought, well, we need to perhaps not meet in the 290s. And then I think within the week or within a few days, it went up like 10 notches.
Yeah.
We thought, oh, you know what? We can't do this now. We can't do that. And that always seems to be a little bit ahead of me. Like on the weekend, I was going stir crazy and I really wanted to get out and just go for a walk. I thought, well, I usually go over to the, Point Vicente Lighthouse or the beach or something. And I went to both and they were absolutely packed.
I know. It was crazy.
Full of people. Yeah. And I thought, okay, the next thing is going to be, they're going to close these areas.
Yeah.
And they did last night. I think the Rancho PV announcement came down last night that, okay, you're not meant to go to those areas anymore. We're closing the parking lots and stuff. And it just seems, I don't know, that's the freakiest part, I think, for me, is that I've always taken it seriously, but it always seems to be just that little bit more serious than I think it is.
Yeah.
It catches me out like that,
It's wild. And it feels like it changes hour by hour too, right? Like it doesn't feel like this is the same quarantine as it was yesterday. Because things just change.
They're stepping it up each time. And I'm still in the studio right now because I'm the only person here, so it's very controlled. But I'm starting to think, well, okay, what can I take home that would still make this work? Because as it turned out, before this all came down, I wasn't working, basically unemployed. and then all this work came in. I got like 4 movies right now, and it's like, boom, all at once. And right when I kind of probably should still be at home.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is very controlled here, but I'm looking at, okay, well, I need the keyboard, I need some monitors. What can I take home if I really just want to stay indoors and not even go out the front door,
Right. That's a tough question. A lot of people have to ask that. And there's a lot of jobs. I mean, obviously people are losing their jobs and people are not able to work from home. It's really drastic out there.
Yeah. That's the hard part for me also is to, luckily for me, I had work come in just in the last few weeks and it's been a long stretch without work. So I know what it's like to not have work and be we're getting right down to the edge actually. And luckily, thank God, I got a lot of work come in. But I think of, when I listen to the radio and all the reports and stuff, I think, well, a lot of people are getting laid off. I know people have got laid off because of this. And it's just, a lot of businesses, small businesses especially, just can't, hey, if we're going to keep this quarantine, we can't stay in business. And that's just frightening. And also just to think, well, how much longer? I am really getting the feeling, and this is only my opinion, it's not from an expert or a report, but
you're not a doctor.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, we just at the beginning, we're kind of like, some of us may be thinking, okay, it's been, 9 days with no school or, a couple of weeks without Impact and a couple of weeks we'll be back, right? And it's like, well, we heard from the school district, that's going to be longer. And I kind of wonder, when we look at the numbers of people infected by this, and you just think, wait, are we just at the beginning?
Yeah.
Maybe this is just the start, and it's, I don't know, we'll see. But that's the scarier part of it. It's like, oh yeah, this is fine. I can do this. And it's like, yeah, but how much longer?
It is so crazy. And it's this universal unknown. And I think that is comforting and really scary at the same time. What do you think is some of the good that could come out of this situation?
Yeah, well, actually, I have a view here, and I can see across the city clearer than ever. And I don't know
Wow.
if that's because people aren't driving as much
Yeah.
anymore. I mean, I heard on traffic reports in the morning, the going into downtown and stuff is nothing like it used to be two
Right.
weeks ago.
Crazy.
And I've heard of other cities, we've seen other things online of smog clearing up and stuff like that. But on that note, it's more like, yeah, I wonder what. Look, this is a bad thing that's happening,
Mm-hmm.
but as we know, good things do come out of bad things. And yeah, it's a really good question. On the other side of this coin, I think, we're going to see some healing in other areas, that families have to come together. We have to spend more time at home. We have to maybe iron out whatever family issues we have because we're in closer quarters. I mean, those students of us that are not going to school right now, it's a whole different situation where you just kind of
Right.
leave home for your 6-7 hours a day, and maybe that's been good for you guys or bad for you guys. Maybe you prefer to be home, but I think there's a lot of us that have issues at home, and it's like, okay, we're here now, let's figure this out.
Right.
And spending more family time getting creative with, okay, what do I do with my extra time at home because I'm not hanging out with friends.
Right.
And some of the good I think is along those lines of it's interesting. We have to be antisocial, but in some ways we really do have to still be really social. I mean, we all know isolation at any time is not, I think, what God has intended.
Mm-hmm.
I think God created us to be social. We're not all created the same in terms of extrovert and introvert, but I think we are all created to have friends, to have family. That's part of God's design. And I think in and amongst the bad news of all this, I think it's bringing up some other things to the foreground where it's like, how do I maintain my friendships? How do I still forward my relationships at a time when I'm told to be alone, but not totally alone? I don't think we're called to be alone.
Yeah. It reminds you that relationships and friendships are hard work, and you have to actually put in the work in this season to maintain those relationships, like you're saying. And I think that that's really interesting. I don't know if this has been your experience, but a lot of people I've talked to have been FaceTiming people more and doing a lot more virtual hangouts over Zoom or whatever, because they just miss that connection. And I know I'm on your impact group chat, which I sometimes really hate and sometimes I really like.
I'm sure you got to turn off notifications for that.
For sure. But talk to me. So something that I think a lot of students would recognize just with your legacy specifically of just really good community, really good group culture. How do you maintain that in this season without actually physically meeting?
Well, I think, you're reminding me that with how active sometimes our group chat is, there's times when I think any one of us has to turn the notifications off. I joked about it, but it's okay, I think I turned them off one night, and the next morning it was 40 notifications, and I'm like,
that's an easy night.
I'm
that's
glad
a light
I turned
night.
them off because at that time I cannot deal with 40 text messages, But the other side of that is that's awesome. That's great that these students keep this going, and a lot of times it's just fun and making jokes and whatever. And other times, I know Kirk is really active in putting up almost a daily, it seems,
sermons,
and they're pretty in depth. They're not just look up this verse. He really gets into it, and then there's a lot of response. And then if something funny happens, there's a lot of response too. So to answer your question, though, I mean, we're lucky, I think, and fortunate that we haven't actually had to put much in place because it's already there.
Yeah.
We've already been texting a lot, calling a lot, and we haven't done the FaceTime or the house party thing until last week. But luckily, and I'm just so glad that our group has been strong and held a lot of togetherness as a big value, that we haven't had to change a lot because we've already had this ongoing. So the text thing, for example, is just, that's been for years. We just always have been texting, and now it's time to maybe step it up with things like House Party or Zoom. After last week's Impact that was online, which you guys, that was awesome. It was really great.
That was super fun.
And we just, the only thing we had set up ahead of time was okay, be on the text chat, and we'll go from there and see, do people have Zoom? Do people have House Party? Whatever, and we went on to House Party, and it was a blast. And we didn't do a lot of deep and meaningful, but we played.
Right.
We played guac and chips, for like an hour or something. And,
So fun.
and like, oh, this is fun. And it was that kind of thing, like that game, which is set up in the app, that it's just there. It's provided for you. Someone else has already done that hard work of, oh yeah, the winner goes to that one, and you see exactly it's all in the app.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, we were actually really just having genuine fun here, playing a game, like a card game, but we're all in different houses and stuff. And someone has already done that groundwork where we have these apps and stuff already set up for us. And it's interesting that this is a time we can really learn. Oh, I never heard of house parties until you mentioned it last week. And like, okay, now I know about it. Now I know how to use it, and I've used it. We're using it again. Maybe we'll try Zoom this week because we've got more than 8 people, and we need to include a couple of others that got kicked out last week. But it's just like learning about all these things that are available to us is another side of this whole isolation thing. It's like, no, there's a lot of stuff available to us. And look, you're really savvy. I know that the ministry, the high school and junior high ministry at RHCC, again, another bonus. I mean, they're on the ball. You guys know about this stuff. We can call you and say, hey, how do I get this to work? Or what else? I need more than 8 people. What do I use? Oh, we know what to use, But it also makes me think, gosh, what if this had happened 20 years ago or something?
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I remember being at one, it was a New Year's Eve party. It was a dinner. This is years and years ago, as you'll soon realize. And somebody said, oh, guys, I actually have that internet thing. Do you guys want to see that? And we're all like, oh, yeah, the internet. I think I heard about that. You have that? Yeah, let's check it out. So we went into this guy's little home office and looked at the internet to see what that was all about. And we're like, wow, that's actually pretty useful. Maybe I should get that. And that was the thing. Now we have all these just apps. Like I'm talking on my phone.
Right.
I see, this is like a Star Trek episode of 1968 or something that
right.
I remember watching that way back and thinking, wow, I wonder if there'll be a day where you can see somebody, on a screen, let alone on a device that you can have in your pocket. So yes, showing my age. Yes, I'm an oldie, whatever. It's a fact, but it's amazing that we have so much available to us that, is there really any excuse for any of us to be completely lonely? And do we make choices about, I need time alone right now, and that's fine, but we also have the choice every day just to hop on, make a phone call, text, get on a FaceTime or something like this. I think it's incredible what we have now. And it's, I think, setting us up, perhaps another brighter side of this real negative period is that going forward, I think when this is over, I think we may be looking at things differently. Like, my friendships, I couldn't go and just hang out at that house because they're telling us, I don't know if students are doing this or not, but, we've been told, no, don't go on the play date. Don't go and hang out at somebody's house. You need the separation. And I think we'll value that more when we can just hop back in our cars and go over to somebody's house or whatever and hang out and have parties and, be back in the 290s and stuff. I think we'll maybe look at that a little differently and thinking, wow, it's a really fortunate and blessed thing that we have that time, say on Wednesday night or Sunday morning. I think we should be looking at that differently a little bit now and appreciating it more that, wow, I took a lot of stuff for granted before. That it's like, I'll just go to church. I'll just go to small group. It's like, there's times when we can't do that. And so when we have that back, I think it'll be all the more rewarding to realize, wow, I really need to not take this for granted,
Wow. That's really insightful. I love that. I hope students really hear that the small group that you go to and you tank or you just walk around and be on your phone, like you take that for granted sometimes. That's really good. I really appreciate that perspective. That's great. So I'll end here what I've been doing with everybody, asking you what's one piece of content or movie, TV show, podcast, book that you've been enjoying in quarantine that you want other people to enjoy, something you recommend.
Yeah, I think I've been spending more time back in the Bible, and one of my favorites is Proverbs because I can duck in and out of it.
Yeah.
And there's these epic stories that I think we've been looking at Impact in the last few years. A lot of Old Testament stuff that have these huge epic I think, stories, but something like Proverbs to me is these little bits. And maybe it's still my, increasingly short attention span, that it's like, oh, I just want a couple little nuggets and go and run. But, any 2 or 3 verses out of Proverbs, just pick anything and you can spend all day, all week thinking of just those few words. So for those of us out there that I think I have a hard time reading at length. I always have. And so I guess it's one of my favorite books, is because it can be taken in really small bits and yet be still really deep. A lot of just really deep, insightful wisdom, and just little short pieces of advice that are actually can go really far. I've been guilty of spending a lot of time on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to look at what my screen time for the week says. It's gone way up. Like I said, I've got work, which is keeping me busy. But when I get my daily bit of work done, I write music and get that out of me. I feel exhausted and I just want to hang out on YouTube. So I've just been messing around looking at old shows and old Tonight Show stuff.
Oh,
and,
yeah. That's great.
Just getting lost in that. Am I recommending that? I'm just saying that's what I've been doing, admittedly, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
And appreciating it, and the fact that I can do it again. For those of you that are just born with this, it's just amazing that you can hop on a channel and you can find whatever you want, and that's your choice.
Yeah.
And we talk about the negative side of that a lot, I think. But guys and gals, I would just say there is so much at your disposal just by having a phone. And you know that. And it's up to you to make those choices as to, okay, where do I go with this? What do I spend my time on? And I know for me, I get like, oh my gosh, I just spent 2 hours watching Jay Leno or, something like inane. And it's like, okay, maybe I need to cut that down to 10 minutes, instead of an hour. But it's just that we can get lost in that. And I would just say, be aware of where your time is going,
that's good.
especially on your own. I mean, if you're out in the family room playing board games or whatever it is that's happening now, that's great. But we still have a lot of time on our own, and a lot of time to make good choices and bad choices into, okay, we need entertainment. We need some fun and laughter and watch some of that. But there's still a lot of stuff online. Watching back over maybe the Impact thing that you guys have been setting up, looking at our sermons from Sunday, and just keeping that sort of normalcy. That's a sort of a normalcy that can keep going in amidst everything else that's just totally different. I think it's important to keep that. Oh, okay, well, it's just the Bible. Just the Bible. Let's keep reading it. Let's keep checking in with RHCC and what's happening online, because it's a part of keeping that normal stuff, or part of that regularity of what we're used to in amidst of all the different stuff of being, having to hunker down more and more each day.
Yeah. That's good. That's all good stuff. Rob, thanks so much for calling in. Really appreciate you and everything, and hang in there in quarantine. And maybe one day we'll be back in the 290s. Who knows?
Sounds good. One day, I would expect. So,
hopefully soon.
That's the question. So good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you too, man. Hang in there. We'll see ya.
No worries. Have a good one.
Bye.